I always find the month of May to be an interesting month in the life of the church because almost every Sunday is a special Sunday: graduation Sunday, Mother's Day, Pentecost, Memorial Day, and here this year we get two in one, as Pentecost and Memorial Sunday fall on the same weekend. Memorial Day, which we'll observe tomorrow, was originally established to remember and to honor those who have gone to war and given their lives for their country. And although many of us, maybe even most of us, have never had the experience of going to war, thankfully, movies like the classic Saving Private Ryan, with that opening scene of the Battle of Normandy Beach in World War II, makes it very vivid that war is hell. And therefore, hopefully it is always the last resort that hopefully we never have to take in solving international relations. But it's with reverence and appropriate honor that we do remember those who have died fighting for their country. And in a nation like ours, where freedom is so greatly cherished, those who have died defending that freedom should never be forgotten. And if you've ever been to Washington, D.C., and been to Arlington National Cemetery, particularly to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, you know how impressive that is. This weekend, of course, the tomb will be highly decorated in many different ways, and every gravesite at the National Cemetery and every other national cemetery around the country will have a little American flag on every grave. And that, too, is very impressive and a reminder that those who have died will never be forgotten. But a poet once described the Memorial Day experience in a way that I think is timeless. He said in writing, they all belong to someone, these many men and women, lying there beneath the flags, uncles, sons, brothers, true. We might add wives, daughters, mothers too. Now they belong to me and you. To us, they are just soldiers still, but they served our country with a will. If you listen close, you still can hear the sound of drums, the marching feet, the sounds of battle far and near. Let us honor them on this day. Their country called. They gave their best. And this is a place where they came to rest, so that we could live in the land of the free, America and liberty. And although Memorial Day was established to remember those who died for their country, it has also become a time in which we naturally would turn our thoughts to all whom we have known and loved in this world who are no longer here on earth, including the members of Woodmont that we named just a moment ago, who have died since Memorial Day last year. You know, in the short 7 years that I have been here at Woodmont, I can still vividly recall and feel the ongoing presence of so many members of this church who are no longer with us in this world. They may be apart from our fellowship, but they are still very much a part of it and very much a part of the spirit and the ongoing mission of this great church. And each time someone dies, no matter how old or young they might be, I can't help but think of that challenging verse in the letter of James in the New Testament when he asked us the question, what is your life? The length of your life is as uncertain as the morning mist. Now you see it, soon it is gone. And even if we live to be 100 or more, that would still be but a fleeting moment in the face of eternity. Yes, I still remember and feel the presence of so many. I think of Bill Davis, for example, a gentle, quiet man who returned to Woodmont not too long ago. He loved attending the Monday afternoon geezers meeting, as we call it. He also loved attending the Wednesday morning men's Bible study. And the week he died not too long ago, he was here Monday afternoon in the meeting, feeling good like normal, Wednesday morning, he got up to get ready to attend the Bible study, and then all of a sudden, he pulled aside that thin veil which separates life in this world from the life it is to come, and he stepped over to the other side. I'll always remember Charlie Howell and how he had one theme that he always emphasized in every group discussion we had. It's all about love, he would say, and especially loving the future generations and living our lives in the world today in such a way that they'll know we love them as we prepared for their future. Who could forget sweet, gentle Mary Eleanor Tomlinson, who stayed so active in our church, attending worship and Sunday school, the Christian Women's Fellowship, the GEMS monthly luncheon, the Wednesday night dinners, right up until the end of her 96 years. Or Bob Matthews and his smile and his kind spirit. Or Brian Stanley, who to me always looked like he stepped out of the pages of Gentleman's Quarterly. Or Jeff Dyer, who would help anybody with any problem that they had. Or Minnie Peake, who danced her way to heaven right up at the age of 96. She was so full of enthusiasm and joy. How quickly their lives have passed. How much we still miss them. But now they're a part of that great cloud of witnesses as described in the Bible, a cloud of witnesses that I believe look down on us still here on earth, and they're cheering us on, and they're helping us live this life to the fullest. I have no question that they continue to influence our living. The Bible says in the book of Proverbs that the memory of the righteous is a blessing. But those that we have shared this life with and who are now gone, they're certainly much more than a memory. As one person has written, in one sense there is no death. The life of a soul on earth lasts beyond his departure. You will always feel that life touching yours, that voice speaking to you, that spirit looking out other eyes, talking to you in the familiar things he touched, worked with, loved as familiar friends. He lives in your life and in the lives of all others who knew him. Or as Henry David Thoreau once wrote, even the death of friends will inspire us as much as their lives. But when a loved one dies to this world, especially when it's sudden, like a heart attack, when it's unexpected, we are reminded again how short and fleeting this life on earth is. Just like James says, like the morning mist, now you see it, soon it is gone. So my question is, if life is short and time is fleeting, how are we going to make the most out of the time that we have in this world, whether we have a little, whether we have a lot? Or to ask it another way, what can we learn from the lives of those who have gone before us, the lives of members of Woodmont that we've known so well, family members we've known so well, members of the Church Universal from the first day of Pentecost, and what they have taught us about living life to the fullest. Jesus said, I have come that you might have life and have it in all its fullness. I say so many people exist in this world, but they don't really live. What does it take to truly live? And what have we learned from those who have gone before? Several things I would mention this morning. First of all, I would say that the lives of the great saints in this church and in the church everywhere that have lived before us have taught us that those who truly follow the way of Jesus Christ know that it's people, not things, that are most important in this world. I challenge you to think of those you have loved who have meant the most of you. Think what their lives were all about, what you remember the most. You don't remember all the stuff they accumulated in this world, but you remember their smile, you remember their love, you remember their caring for you. That's what life is all about. Every time I pull into the Woodmont parking lot, I see that little red van that Tom Mathias gave to this church, that the property folks still use to haul things around. I think of Tom, and when I think of Tom Mathias, I don't think about material things he had. I don't even really know what he had or didn't have. But I think about a man who came down to this church every day, and he would do whatever needed to be done around the church property-wise. And he did it because he loved the Lord. He loved this church. But most of all, he did it because he loved people. And if you ran into him, he was always available to talk to you, and a joy to talk to. Jesus exemplified this in his own life. He wasn't interested in worldly possessions, only in people. Jesus said that the measure of a person's life does not consist of the abundance of one's possessions. But he said, love one another as I have loved you. In other words, we're supposed to love people and use things. But our materialistic world today has gotten it backwards, and so many people love things and use people. I also like to say that life does not begin when you make your first $1 million. I think only a fool would believe that way. But real life, the full and abundant life, begins when you learn how to love other people and be loved in return. It's a two-way street. You can't have it one way without having it both ways. And life ends not when you stop breathing, but life ends when you no longer love and are loved in return. In a world where so many people say, you know, I shop, therefore I am, Jesus would have us know, I love, therefore I am. So which is it for you? Which do you love more? Do you love things? Do you love people? A second great lesson that we can learn from the saints who have gone before us that we remember on this Memorial Sunday is that the importance of truly trusting in God, not just talking about it. We talk about it every Sunday, but how many people really do it, really trust in God? In the book of Proverbs, the book of wisdom in the Old Testament, we read, trust the Lord and not your own judgment. Trust the Lord and you will be safe. You know, there is nobody else, there is nothing else in this world that you can trust 100% of the time except God. Anybody else or anything else is going to let you down at some time or another, but God never will. Those who live the full and abundant life, and that's the life I would describe as a life that is free from worry, free from fear, free from anxiety, depression, and all the other things that take away our joy. It means a life that's full of joy, full of enthusiasm, full of hope, full of love. And the people who live that life are the ones who truly trust in God on a daily basis. They know that God is always there, not just because they've been taught it, not just because the Bible says it, but they know from their own experience. And all of us know when we look back on our lives, in times when we thought were so bad or so hard, amazing how we got through it, amazing how God is always there. Even more amazing is sometimes those times that we thought were the worst part of our lives turned out to bring about the best part of our lives, things we wouldn't have known otherwise. But we know, according to scriptures and experience, that God will never allow us to face a problem or a crisis or a difficulty in life that is greater than we can handle with God's help. And that's the important part. That means trusting God to get us through it. That's why I also say that the goal and purpose of prayer is not just to plead with God, help me escape this, God, make me better, God, don't let me get sick, let me don't go bankrupt and I'll be good. That's not what prayer should really be all about. It's not how much you can get out of God, but prayer is about how much of God you can get into your life. And you can live and you can overcome if you've got God in your life and you truly trust God, no matter what happens. Those who truly trust God at all times in their lives. They trust God in times of weariness. And yes, all of us get weary at some time or another. You can't live in this modern, fast-paced world and not grow weary with the so-called rat race, as we call it. I also like to remind you that even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. But those who have daily strength and enthusiasm and energy understand what the ancient prophet Isaiah meant when he said, "Those who truly trust the Lord will renew their strength. They will be strong like eagles soaring upward on wings. They will walk and run without growing tired." Those who truly trust God in times of disappointment. And yes, all of us face disappointments of some degree or another in life. And yet those who trust God know it's true that all things do work together for good for those who love the Lord. They never let the disappointments in life defeat them. I can't help but think they've got to be like Sue Eck on the middle. You know Sue Eck? She's always not winning in life, but she's never defeated. She always finds something good to celebrate and be excited about. A third lesson that we learn from the saints who went before us is that the fullness of life comes by doing great works. And as strange as it might seem to those who are Christian, there are people in this world who can live out their years on this earth, and they really make no difference in the world about them. An anonymous poet described them this way: "There are a number of us who creep into this world to eat and sleep and know no reason why they're born, but merely to consume the corn, devour the cattle, fowl, and fish, and leave behind an empty dish." Compared to those who make no positive difference in the world, Jesus said very clearly, the greatest among you, the ones who live life to the fullest, will be the servant of others. Make a difference. Make the world a better place when you leave it than it was when you arrived here. An 18th century French saint by the name of Etienne de Grier once wrote, "I shall pass through this world but once. If therefore there be any kindness I can show or any good thing I can do for any fellow creature, let me do it now. Let me not defer it nor neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. Any good I can do, let me do it now." How many of us live our lives that way on a daily basis? Lastly, one other lesson that I would say that we learn if we looked at the lives of those who've gone before us, the ones who knew what life was all about, is that they teach us that you've got to take time to really live. And the time to really live is not tomorrow when this and this and this happens and life will be good. It's not yesterday in the good old days that are now gone. The only time you can live is right now, today, this very moment. Some of us remember a lady who influenced a lot of us for years with her humorous writings, yet deep philosophy in life, by the name of Erma Bombeck. Remember Erma Bombeck? I looked up on Google. That's what we do today. We Google. I want to know how long she's been gone from this world. And I was a little bit shocked to realize it's been almost 20 years now since Erma Bombeck died. But still, again, her influence is there, at least in those of us who read her writings. And I'll never forget one time Erma Bombeck was asked, if she could live her life all over again, what would she do differently? A good question for all of us to think about. And she wrote a list of things she would do differently. Among them were these. She said, "I would invite friends over to dinner, even if the carpet was stained and the sofa faded. I would eat popcorn in the good living room and worry less about the dirt when you lit the fireplace. I would burn the pink candle sculptured like a rose before it melted while being stored away. I would sit cross-legged on the lawn with my children and not worry about grass stains." In other words, she was saying if she could live her life over again, she would take more time to live and less time to worry and be anxious about things. And that's what all of us should learn to do if we want to get the most out of life. Relax, play more, enjoy more. We all need to be more aware of the world around us on a daily basis. I'm reading another book right now that some of you may be reading by Tom Brokaw. He's written a book called A Lucky Life Interrupted. And he talks about how his life was so wonderful. He was a globetrotter. He got to do everything that all of us think about when you're rich and famous and on TV all the time and so forth and known everywhere. And then, boom, all of a sudden, in August of 2013, he came down with multiple myeloma cancer. And he talks in the book on a daily basis. Being a journalist, he kept a daily journal, talked about how the chemotherapy weakened him, slowed him down. He couldn't do like he used to do. And yet he discovered blessings in that he hadn't known before because he noticed more things around him. He said he discovered, for example, that there were new shops and restaurants that had opened up in his own neighborhood that he had never seen before because he was always in a hurry to go somewhere and do something. We had the joy last summer when we were at Chautauqua of hearing Tom Brokaw talk a little bit about this, and fortunately he's done real well in dealing with this form of cancer. But the point is, we all need to slow down and not be in such a hurry in this stressful world of today. We need to take time for our families, take time for our friends, take time for yourself, and make time for God every day. For what will it profit us if we gain the whole world, if we lose our own soul in the process thereof? I think all of us could benefit from the prayer of an elderly gentleman when he prayed, "Oh God, help me to live while I'm still alive." That's all we need to say. So, what are you going to teach your children, your grandchildren, your friends about what it means to learn? What have we learned from the lives of those who've gone before us in this church and in the Universal Church about what it means to live life to the fullest? If you want to live before you die, learn to love people, not things. Trust God at all times in your life. Fill your life with good works for the sake of others, and take time to live. Would you pray with me? We thank you, Lord, for the cherished memories of those we love who are no longer here in this world. We especially thank you for those who have taught us about life and how to live it to the fullest. May we live out our years here on earth, as long or short as they may be, in such a way that when we look back on them, we will have no regrets and never have to wish we'd done it differently. Amen.